Aimsy here of Aimsy's Antics. Welcome to my channel. I hope you are well today because I have another sewing project for you, and in this week's video I'm going to show you how to make some jogging bottoms using the Tilly and Buttons stretch book. Now this is a fabulous book if you are a sewer and looking to sew your own clothing, or even learning to sew your own clothing with some stretch type material. Now this is the first time I have used any stretch materials, but I wanted to make myself something nice and comfy to wear because it is still cold out there and we're in this lockdown, so I wanted something super comfy to wear. So I'm going to have a go at making these Stella jogging pants. And then in another video I'm going to attempt the hoodie as well because it comes as a set. So yes, I have got the joggers on at the moment and they are super comfy. They're just really easy to sew and put together once you know how to do it, but they are just super comfy, and I know that I'm going to be living in them for months, so I will wash them in between. So if you would like to see how to make some jogging bottoms using a Tilly and the Buttons Stella jogger pattern, then let's get crafting. So I have chosen to make these joggers in a grey and pink double sweatshirt jersey from Flamingo Fabrics, and I will link it down below if it is still available on their site. This is just beautiful fabric. It feels lovely on the skin with that pink textured material inside. And then for the cuffs I am using a pink ribbon, so this will make the bottom cuffs for the joggers as well as the waistband to give it a nice contrast. So here is the Tilly and Buttons stretch video and the Stella hoodie joggers pattern. As you can see here, I am going to attempt the jogging pants. So the book is really good because it has the detailed instructions and it comes with all of the patterns. So what I have done is trace the pattern out onto some sewing pattern paper just so that I can remake these joggers in other sizes if I need to and it's not ruined by cutting them out. So here is the traced pattern pieces. One thing I have learned from sewing the stretch material is you need to change your needle to the ballpoint type one or a knit needle because this is a bit more delicate on that stretchy material and helps you sew it better. So you need to change that out, and also using a walking foot can really help bring that material through. If it's bulky, it helps glide it through the machine a lot better. The first thing I did was cut out all of the pattern pieces both in the grey sweatshirt as well as the pink ribbon, and then went in following those pattern pieces and cut all of the notches needed for the project. Now cutting the notches is super important so you can line everything up precisely. So I've got all my pieces cut out now and it's just time to start putting it all together. So let's head to the book and see what the first step is. I'm excited how these are going to turn out. Before any sewing can commence, it is time to prep the material, and this is with some iron-on knit interfacing and using this on where the pocket openings will be, and this just adds some stiffness and stability to where the pocket openings are. And then it's time to attach the pocket pieces to the corresponding jogger leg, matching the notches, and I've just marked a seam where I need to sew along. And one thing when you are sewing with stretch, you need to do a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch if your machine has this. Mine isn't that fancy and only has a zigzag, but it all connects together beautifully with that zigzag and allows a bit of that stretch to happen in the material. One thing I have learned when sewing any type of garment, whatever material is, obviously if it's suitable, is to press this as you go along. So pressing the seams and making sure everything is laying flat and where it needs to be, because this just helps give that garment a more professional and finished look. And then what I am doing here is sewing the curve of the pocket pieces that will be inside the pocket. So this is the lining pieces, I believe. Sewing all the way around that curved edge, making sure all the notches were matched up beforehand. And as you can see, the pockets are now taking shape, but to sort of finish them off before fully sewing is to base stitch them to the waistband part of the joggers, as well as the side seam part of the jogger pants. And a base stitch is just a very large zigzag to keep it all in place temporarily. And then it is time to sew the leg pieces together. So we are going up and around all of the edges of the legs so that they are sitting nice together. So you should have 2 pieces per leg, so one front and one back piece. So you're doing one leg at a time and sewing up around the edges. And again, pressing the seams as directed in the book. To sew the 2 leg pieces of the joggers together, you need to turn one right side out and then keep the other one right side in, so it's inside out, and place the right side out leg inside the inside out leg, if that makes sense, so that you have right sides matching, so the grey material will be matching the rest, if that makes sense, and then lining up the notches and seams where they need to be. And this just makes it easier to connect the joggers all together around that crotch area. And also the book advises, if you are using a zigzag stitch rather than an overlocker, to double stitch this part so that it has some strength. So, lined the notches up, making sure the seams lined up, lining up them notches and the ends. The next step is to create the buttonholes in the waistband, and of course I'm using contrasting ribbon. So what you need to do is place on some more of that knit interfacing where your buttonholes are going to be and mark from the pattern, and then changing the presser foot of the sewing machine to the buttonhole stitcher. I just stitched 2 buttonholes. Now these weren't the neatest and I did have a little bit of trouble with this. I really do need to work on my buttonholes, but they haven't turned out too bad and they serve the purpose of creating the 2 holes for where the waistband drawstring will go. So to open up any buttonholes, just use your seam ripper and go down that middle, breaking up any of the little stitches but keeping the main outdoor ones. And now it is on to creating that waistband bit, so pressing this so that it is folded in half lengthways, and then pinning this upside down so the raw edges of the waistband and the joggers are meeting, and then sewing a seam but leaving a decent gap. And what I have done to keep the gap is put 2 pins on either side so I know where the gap is, and there's the waistband. To create the elasticated waistband part, you need some elastic, obviously. Now I have measured my waist hips as directed and cut this in the correct length in 5 cm wide elastic. Then using the gap that was left, threading this between the 2 halves of the ribbon so that it goes through this channel, and using a safety pin to do so. And once the elastic was through, securing this together using 3 straight stitches rather than zigzag, back stitching the start and end of each one to fully secure the elastic together inside the waistband. Then it is just a matter of closing up that gap where the elastic was in, and I've added in my own label so that I know it is a me made item, and just using a small zigzag stitch to fasten this all together before moving on to the final step. With the final step being adding in some drawstring to that waistband, and I am using macrame cord initially for this, knotting it on one end and threading it through, but I do change this up later to some grey cotton ribbon. to finish off the joggers, I am adding in some of that pink ribbon as cuffs for the bottom and removing the bottom part of the sewing machine. Is that the arm? I can't quite remember what it's called. I should know this, I don't. Removing that little bit so that I can hook the cuff around the edge and sew it on a lot easier. Pulling the cuff, stretching that to attach it to the base material of the pant leg, and then the joggers are complete after a bit of pressing.
I don't really need a new friend, so spend your time with me. Looking for someone who can play though, wanna hang with me. I'm not really looking for a friend, so spend your time with me. Looking for someone not afraid to give it all to me. Get next to me, get next to me. All that I want is to get next to you, get next to you. Not asking for much, but it feels like the two of us are golden, are gold. You see, we'll do you good, so take a chance on me. It's magical when you are close, so get closer, babe. We'll do you good, 'cause I am golden.
So there you have how to make jogging bottoms using the Tilly and Button stretch book with the pattern Stella Joggers. These are so comfortable, I do not want to take them off, and really easy to sew. What I love about this book is it completely breaks down and is so easy to follow that it makes all of the different clothing items seem so much more accessible and easier to make. It takes that dauntingness out of making your own clothes. So if you are looking for a book to help you with some sewing, then I would highly recommend Tilly and the Buttons. This is the second book in her series, and it's not sponsored at all, by the way. I just really like this book, and it's my first make from it. I have all 3 books, so I cannot wait to get stuck into making more of her clothing patterns from them. So let me know what you think in them comments below, what you think of these joggers, and whether you would like to see some more sew along type videos like this one coming up onto the channel. I do have a hoodie planned for a few weeks time using the Stella hoodie pattern which goes with these joggers, so stay tuned for that one. But yeah, do let me know what you think in them comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video then please do give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up with more of my crafting and sewing antics coming up onto the channel. And while you're there, don't forget to click that notification bell as well, because that will alert you each time a new video of mine goes live, so you don't miss another creative crafty antic video. And check out my blog Aimsy's Antics, which is linked below, because there's always a ton more information over on the blog for you to check out. And with that said, I will see you in next week's video, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and week, and I will see you next time. Bye!